Hey, welcome to another episode of the Glory Reds podcast. And I'm pretty sure by now everyone has caught up to the news that Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to renovate or rebuild Old Trafford. So I'm going to give you a few keynotes from what he said and what's going on and basically what's happening. And then I'm also going to give you my thoughts about it. So let's quickly run through this. Yeah. So obviously Old Trafford has been standing for over 100 years, but the problem is it is facing a lot of issues. All right, like leaking from the roof, outdated facilities, etc. So obviously this is what has prompted Sir Jim to take initiative and to take action so that we can have a world leading stadium for our fans to enjoy, for the players to utilize, right? So they can stay competitive in Europe. So yeah, anyway, like I said, Sir Jim dubbing this the Wembley of the North, and obviously he means that in terms of the capacity, the facilities, the world class, you know, um, aura about the stadium. He wants to give that to United because a lot of clubs have revamped their stadiums or built new stadiums, and they're offering world class facilities to these young and upcoming players and these very talented players in their club to utilize so they can stay at their best, right? And United have fallen back over the years. Ronaldo literally in his interview was bashing United. He was shocked actually at the state of the club, that they haven't made any initiative from the point which he left. All right. So yeah, so there are two proposals which are being considered. One of which is updating the existing stadium for around 800 million or reconstructing a new one, likely on adjacent land. Now, they're looking at the car park, which is situated outside of Old Trafford. Personally, I haven't been there, so any of you fans, any of you guys who are watching this channel, you would have a better understanding or a better perspective of what would take place, because apparently they can't extend from the other side because it runs close to the railway, and on the other end apparently it's close to a lake, so they can't really utilize that space in terms of expansions. So the idea is to break it down and then move it into that car park area to essentially build the type of stadium that they're looking to build. All right, so the envisioned stadium positioned near the current ground would rival Wembley's 90,000 seat capacity and host various events. So I'm pretty sure they're also considering not only using the ground for United football matches, but also to host other events that will be taking place in Manchester. All right. So yeah, so those are basically the keynotes. And then the other thing that was mentioned was he is likely to seek funding for from the government of around 2 billion to help aid in this project. All right. Now, let me break down my opinion. And I know it's going to sound a little bit controversial, but I just want you to hear from where I'm coming from. A lot of fans, obviously, who stay in Manchester United, who have been going to the games, who have um, yeah, been watching football games for as long as they have lived, right? Obviously have some attachment to the ground and to the stadium itself, right? So they do not want to see it being broken down, and they would prefer it being renovated to the standards in which it once was. All right. Okay, obviously not once was, but to the standards of being world class. All right. So yeah, it's I would say it's more of a 80-90 split from what I've been watching, hearing, reading, that most fans would just prefer for the stadium to be renovated, right? To be fixed up. It should stay where it is. They should keep the design. It's got too much, it's got a lot of history that, lies within the walls, within the pitch. A lot of great legends, have donned the shirt in that ground. Now, here's my opinion, all right? I honestly think that that stadium obviously does need some work on it, right? Love needs to be put back into that stadium. Now, whether that's gonna be renovating it or building a new stadium, quite frankly, I'm okay with either or options. But in all fairness, I think I do need to make a trip down to Manchester to definitely watch a match, before all those changes take place, just so I can understand more and be more in tune with the culture. You know what I mean? And maybe understand it on a much deeper level of, why a lot of fans wouldn't want it to be rebuilt, but instead be renovated. Now, back to my opinion. Back in the day, United was a world leading stadium. All right. It rivaled the best in Europe and probably at some point was the best footballing ground that a player could go to. Now, back then, these players, these great players, had the opportunity. All right, they had the they had the opportunity to utilize all the great equipment, all the great facilities, and just be in the presence of something that's world class, which gave them the motivation. They had tools at their disposals to be the best players that they could be. Now, we have a new generation of Manchester United players. We have a new generation of Manchester United fans. Some of these fans today did not live through those glory days. They do not understand. Yes, they do know the culture, they do know the history, but they don't really have a significant attachment to the stadium like the older fans. Okay, now moving on to the players. I think that players 100% deserve the type of equipment, deserve the type of facilities that the old players once had in order for them to be the best. So these up and coming players need to have these type of facilities in order for them to reach their full potential and be the best that they can be so they can compete in Europe. Spurs have a new stadium. West Ham have a new space stadium. Arsenal moved from hybrid to the Emirates Stadium. Man City have built a new stadium, etc., etc. We can go on and on and on. Now, these younger players, these younger generation players, all right, they want obviously the best equipment and facilities at their disposal so they can be the best players that they can be. If United is going to keep dragging on this situation of not doing something with the stadium and delivering the type of equipment, the modern day equipment, the modern day facilities, and not giving them and not having it at their disposal for them for them to reach their potential and surpass it. A lot of these players are going to be opting to go to other clubs just for the sole fact that they believe that United is not the proper breeding ground for them to attain the goals that they want to reach. All right. So I think United need to move on. They need to move forward. And when I'm saying that, I'm not saying let go of history. All right. And in terms of the in-depths of what goes into reconstructing a new stadium and all of that and the design and everything like that, I don't know how much of it would stick to the original design, because maybe look, not even maybe. I'm a United fan. I love Old Trafford. Even though I haven't been to the stadium, I love the way it looks. I love, the just the whole man. I don't even know how to explain. I'm literally lost for words, but it does have an attachment. It really, really does. All right, the theater of dreams. And I think a lot of United fans believe that if it gets torn down, you're essentially gonna rip out the soul of the club. So I don't know how much of that design they're gonna maintain if they had to rebuild the stadium from scratch. I don't know if they're gonna maintain that same design, which I highly doubt because we can see from previous clubs who have taken the route of creating a new stadium haven't really kept that old design. And that could be down to so many reasons. And remember, United want to increase their seating capacity because I think right now it stands at about 64, 65,000 seating capacity. So they want to extend it to 90,000, right? So obviously it has to undergo a redesign to accommodate that type of seating, okay? And then obviously due to, modern things and everything like that, they obviously want to design it around that type of nature and maybe not really keep it as old school as it was for certain environmental reasons or whatever the case may be. So if they are going to go through a redesign process, most likely it would look different. All right. But like I said, this is a new generation. It's a new era of Manchester United. And I think it would be fitting, for this new crop of players who are very young, who have never um, lived through those glory days or did not have that attachment, maybe coming from a different town or a different country, across the borders, everything like that. They don't maybe have that significant attachment. But what they do know now is what they have been exposed to. And I believe that we need to give them the facilities, give them the opportunity, give them everything at their disposal for them to be the best players that they can be, like what the old players were afforded. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to give you a quick update on what's going on, give you my opinion about it, and we'll probably have a much more in-depth conversation with Ben later on this week and talk about what he thinks about the whole plan of renovating the stadium or demolishing it and rebuilding it from scratch, and we'll give you much more information on that. But with that being said, thank you once again for listening to this episode, and I'm out. Peace.